everybody. Give me 1 second just to refresh my screen. Hopefully my video will cooperate. Yes. Oh, everybody. I'm not a fan of hearing myself talk. I don't know why. How about you guys? Happy New Year. I'm on a little bit early just to make sure that everything's working. I hope you guys had a wonderful holiday. And I hope the new year is fantastic and crafty for you. We're going to be doing some fun stamping with Concord and Ninth's Turnabout stamps. So they make this kind of stamp for every occasion. This just happens to be their, this one is called Coffee Blend Turnabout stamp. But they make all kinds of cool ones. They even make smaller versions too, which are kind of neat. But I thought I would share the Coffee Blend one with you today and show you how easy these stamp sets are to use. So, welcome, welcome. Whoops, I just turned off my light. So the biggest thing about using your turnabouts is having an original size MISTI. So for instance, this is a mini MISTI. You can see it's quite a bit smaller than the original. I always recommend buying an original sized MISTI if you're going to buy your first stamping tool. Hi Wanda! Happy New Year! Oh, that's great. I'm going to take out all my sketchy pieces of paper here. I should have done this before I started. I like to have clean paper for you guys. It's less distracting. Alright, I'll throw that off to the side. I just have some tape holding down my paper. It just makes it easier to use some days. Hello, Lisa. Hello, Beth. Hope you guys are having a good Sunday. Shall we get at it? We're going to do some playing. So what I want to show you first is on the back of their packaging. For, I believe for every single set that they sell, you'll get this in the back of your package of your stamp set. So it tells you what it looks like the first time you stamp it. So this is just done one stamp. That's all the images that come across when you stamp it once. Then you rotate it, and then this is what happens when you put the stamp and ink it up a second time on the same image. And then 3 times. See how there's little gaps? Well, those gaps all get filled when you do it 4 times. So you can use it at any stage. You can, if you want just your paper to look like this, then just stamp it once. If you want it to look a little bit fuller, then stamp it twice, etc., etc. So once you've stamped it completely 4 times, and in this case there's 4 different inks, that's what your page looks like. So you have a full and complete image. It's like making your own background paper. Okay? And it's all themed. Okay, so we're going to do some coffee stamping. So when you get a turnabout stamp, you always get this. And this is for centering your image so that when you rotate it, everything fits where it's supposed to fit. So the concept of it is that you stamp it once and you get this image. So whatever's kind of printed on your sheet. Well, then you rotate your card, not your stamp, but you rotate your card inside, and when you second stamp it, everything fits in between where you previously stamped. So I hope you guys understand that concept by looking at this. Okay, so you need this piece of acetate that's been printed on with your turnabout image, and there's other images on this stamp set. Okay, there's in this particular one, there's like the top of your coffee cup, some coffee beans, some sentiments, coffee cup, a huge coffee cup, all kinds of other things. But your Turnabout stamp comes as one continuous piece and product. Okay, so we'll pull that off in a second. But you need to create a jig. Now, Concord Knife does make a jig for this that you can purchase and use it for every one of your Turnabout stamps. But you do not need the jig for doing this. There's a way to make your own. Okay, and we have to do that first in order to make our stamp work. So, the idea of the jig, and I suggest to go with a 6x6 piece of cardstock. And this can be, it could be something from your junk pile or a crappy piece of cardstock, whatever kind of works for you. This doesn't have to be a fabulous piece of paper, okay? Because you're just going to stick whatever you're going to stamp on your jig, okay? So you're going to need a ruler and a marker. And what you're going to do with this, and this is the easiest way to do it, you're going to take your ruler and you're going to line up your opposing corners, okay? You want it as square a piece of paper as possible. And then you're going to take that marker to create your jig. You're going to go from corner to corner, okay? And then you're going to do the same thing with your opposite two corners. So line it up, line that ruler up with exactly those points. And then you're going to make your line. Okay, so then you come out with a 6x6 piece of paper with a large X on it. Okay, so what this does is it helps center it so that when you rotate your piece of paper that you want to use on your card, it's going to be positioned correctly, and because the stamp rotates in a center point, so each image has to go and rotate around that center point. So that's what you're doing. You're just making that center point. Now, this is what you use this for. Okay. So you're going to put this into your regular size MISTI. Okay. And I find it easier to use a piece of repositionable tape. And this just helps aid in keeping this piece stable, okay? So what you do next is you take this piece, and it says this side up. All of them say this. They're also etched with an X, okay? It says center rotational point, and every single stamp set that's a Turnabout stamp set has a little jig like this. And what you do is you basically line your X from your jig underneath with the X on that image, okay? This is really important, otherwise it will not work. So I'm going to take this and just hold that acetate jig, hi Deanna, in place, okay? Then you're going to go to your stamp set and you're going to peel off the stamp. Now, this jig, this 6x6 jig, does not fit in a mini MISTI, okay? So you need a larger platform. Okay, that's why we're using our regular sized MISTI. Then what you do is you're going to take this image and you need to, I've got a hair stuck to my, okay, then you have to find and match up everything. So you kind of have to find one particular thing and then match it up. Okay, so see how all the images are going to match up? Okay, then you have to get right over top, okay? Because you've got to line up all of those images with your stamp set, okay? It's really important. And This is why I suggest, I'm going to even tape it down on this side. Because if you don't get it in the right position, and you're going to see my head for a second, guys, because I need to get right over top and drop the images perfectly. Because everything is designed to rotate and be in a specific spot on your design. This is the only finicky part about these stamps. So you just have to make sure that everything is lined up properly. And I'm good. Okay? Sorry about the headshot. Okay, then you're just going to close your stamping apparatus. And you're going to pick up that stamp. Now you can peel off this acetate. You don't need this any longer. This is basically used for positioning only. So you can put it back with the rest of your stamp. Okay? So that is the key element. Okay? Yeah. You don't have to acquire any of their jigs. You can make your own. Okay? And you can use this over and over again. So let me show you. This is the jig that I use for some of my samples. And it's, you can reuse it. But I thought I would show you guys from the start how to do this, because it really is that easy. All it is making a 6x6 piece of paper with an X, line up your jig, line up your stamp, and you're good to go. Okay, so let me just show you what I was playing around with here. So I was using Catherine Pooler inks, and I was wondering how many of the browns might look really cool together. So I kind of did this one, but I wanted to use polished, because it's one of my favorite colors. But so this is the effect that you're going to get. Okay, everything spins and rotates. And then I tried some purples and oranges and pinks for another kind of fun look. And now you guys are going to choose my color palette for today. Okay, so I'm just going to get an A2 card base. And okay, 1 second here. Pulling out my inks. I got them all sitting here. Okay. So we'll do both color schemes, but you guys tell me which color scheme you want first. So we can go the purple route, or we can go, these were experimental ones I pulled. So we can go purple first, or we go blue first. Let's call this the blue one. Which would you like me to start with? And then we'll get into the nitty-gritty of how to get everything ready to go here. Purple. Wanda says purple. Can you guys tell me, am I fuzzy or am I clear to you guys? Because on my screen I'm fuzzy, so I just want to make sure. Purple. Lisa says blue. I got 3 purples. Purple. All right, Heather, she's going to bring in a purple, so we'll go purple first. Okay, we'll set these guys aside. So this is my card front, okay? You can absolutely do this on a folded card. I just happened to do mine on card fronts because I just find it easier. Okay, so you're going to take this, and on the back, you just need a little bit of repositionable adhesive, okay? This is just my ATG. I'm going to skin it. So what it does, it just makes it less sticky. And then you can put this basically anywhere on your jig. So you can center it. And you kind of have to do this by eye. Okay? Or you can offset it. It doesn't really matter. Just don't go too far to the edges. Try and keep everything even from top to bottom. So I'll show you centered. We'll do that first. So just find what you think is centered. Okay? And make sure you have a little bit of adhesive on the underside. It's going in and out. Okay. Hopefully you guys can get the gist of this and we can get some clarity. Okay. I also suggest when you're using the Turnabout is to start with your lightest ink, because it doesn't matter what order you do them in, because you're still going to get the same effect, but start with your lightest and work towards your darkest, or start with your lightest and then do your red last. If that makes any sense. Okay, so we're going to start with our lilac, because it's party. Okay, so this thing is now fixed to our jig, okay, for the time being. And now it's just a matter of inking up. So this is our lilac ink. And the nice thing about having your stamp platform is that if you don't get it right the first time, don't worry about it, because you can stamp it again. Especially if it's a light colored ink, or if your ink pad maybe isn't as juicy as it used to be. Okay, so there's our first one. And lilac is pretty soft. So I am going to go, it's not too bad, but I am going to go one more time. Okay, just a dab, dab, dab. And then I'm giving even pressure, and you guys can use your pressure tools. I'm just using my hand because it's free. Okay, perfect. So there is number one. And don't worry about stamping on your jig, okay? It's basically, it's there as a tool. Use scrap piece of paper. Ideally use something that's a little bit sturdy though. Use a cardstock if you can. All right, so now I'm going to take my Lawn Fawn cloth, my favorite, and give it a good wipe. Okay. The other thing too is wipe your stamps in at least 2 different directions, because sometimes when you wipe things, the ink will sit on the other side of like the image or whatever's raised. So go the opposite direction too. Okay. Leave your stamp set in. Don't move it. Don't touch it. This is what moves. Okay. I'm going to take my temporary tape, and you're going to rotate it once, and always rotate in the same direction. So if you go counterclockwise, keep going counterclockwise. Okay. So I'm holding it down again. Okay. I haven't moved my stamp. I've just moved my jig, not the paper on the top, but the 6x6 jig underneath. Okay. That's how easy this is going to be. Okay. So we've done our lilac. It's done. Let's go to our martini. This is a really cool green. Okay. So again, this is all clean and ready to go. And if you want to dry it in between cleaning, that's okay too. Okay. Use your microfiber cloth or whatever to wipe it down and make it absolutely dry. But I know my cloth isn't like super, super damp, so I'm okay with it just air drying. So again, this is martini, and we've already rotated it once. Okay. Ta-da! And it's now your background is starting to build. So this is the fun part, especially if you like to make your own patterned paper. The Turnabout stamps by Concord 9th are amazing for this. So again, I'm going to wipe everything down. So I try to wipe it down first and then rotate, because it also gives that stamp surface a little bit of time to dry in between cleaning. And like I said, wipe it a different direction just to make sure you get into those cracks and crevices. Okay, so it's going to dry, and we are going to rotate this again. Okay, ready? And spin. Like I said, I'm just tacking it down with something that's comes off easily. Easy peasy. Okay, there we go. Martini is done. Let's go to our Uptown. Hi, Terry. Okay, so our Uptown is this kind of really dark, rich turquoisey. This is such a fun color. And I'm just carefully patting, because this one is very juicy. And then we're just going to close that misty door, give it a good press. And again, the beauty of having a stamping tool is that if you didn't get perfect lines, it's okay. Even if you only want to just stamp this part. So I have a little bit of a lighter line on that saucer. You guys probably can't see it, but all I'm going to do is just tap a little bit of ink on that saucer, and ta-da, it's done. El fixo. All right, we're going to clean our stamp again. So we now have 3 of our 4 colors, and if you wanted to stop now, you can. If you're okay with the gaps, which, you know what, it looks completely fine to me. Okay, so I'm just trying to make sure I get into all of those little crevices, because I can see a little bit of our Uptown ink, and I don't want to contaminate any of my ink pads. I want to make sure that my stamp is dry. Okay, so again, we're going with turn number 4. So again, I'm always turning the same direction, and you can go whichever direction you want. I just happen to know I'm going this way, so we're always going to turn it that way. And I see a little bit of Uptown ink there that I want to get rid of. Okay, that was number 3. Uptown, going to the gone list. Okay, and I always wait to do my reds or my darkest color for last. That way I don't contaminate any of my lighter colors of ink, just in case I didn't clean this really well. Okay, so Flirty Fuchsia is number 4. And she is flirty, because she's a fabulous purple. So we're just inking it up all the way across. I'm just trying to get all my images. Now, if you guys can see, I don't know if you guys can see this, but see how I've got ink on the voids? That's okay. Don't worry about that. It will not transfer. Okay? See how it's on the top of my hand there? It's not above that, or below the coffee cup with the heart. Don't worry about getting your ink in those negative spaces, because you can't press hard enough to get that ink to transfer. So don't even worry about it. Just make sure that you've inked up those images nice and evenly. And again, you can double check. See, I'm not entirely happy with the way it's stamped over here. It's not solid enough. So go in again. Go in again. Just do, and you don't even have to go in with a full inking either. You just kind of want to do it so it fills in those gaps for you. A little bit of pressure, and comes out so amazing. Let me show you guys. Let me just clean this off first. So I'm going to send somebody a card and a little goodie. I have like this little stash of goodies. So if you're here and live with me today, make sure you leave a comment or 2 or 7. And I'm going to pick one lucky person to receive one of the cards I make today, along with a stamp set from us, from my new stash. So this is, now you peel it off. Okay, you want to keep this. You can keep this with all your turnabouts, right? So that you don't make it over again. And look at that. Oh, good golly. I just love that. So if you really look at the design, you can see where it rotates, right? Right there is the kind of the center. You see how the I heart coffees, all the hearts are different colors according in relationship to the I coffee, and they all rotate, and you can see the pattern in a rotational thing. But isn't that cool? These stamps are really cool. Hi, Holly. Yeah, it's so easy to use. Hi, Karen. All right. Okay, so let's do another one, because this is fun, right? Okay, so let's do the base, and then you guys can kind of point me in the direction of how you want me to finish this. Okay, so we're going to put in our jig. Okay, I'm going to put in my tape, because we know everything jives, right? We've already positioned the center. Hi, Nora. Yes, pull out your Turnabouts. Yeah, give them a try, right? Yeah. Hi, Sue. And yeah, colors, you go, oh my god, you can totally experiment. I think this would be kind of cool, like in all browns. Like 4 shades of brown might look really cool for coffee, right? Okay, so the second color set that we pulled was Bellini, Buttercream, Ginger Mist, and Green Tea. So this is our next color combination. So again, I am going to grab no, oh, that's not a card base that will fit in A2. That's too short. Hang on. I got my stash here. I always keep my white cardstock stuff. That's too short too. Got to get an extra. There's an A2. Okay. It's pretty sad when you can tell a piece of paper, right? So, who else has sepia inks? I'm curious. Have you ever tried Catherine Pooler inks before? Okay. So, sorry, hitting the camera there. I'm destickifying my ATG. And this time, instead of like centering it on our X, or at least guessing as best as center we can get, we're going to kind of pull it off to the right. So I want to show you that you can still do this whole stamp, and it doesn't have to be centered, okay? It still works, because the process of using that 6x6 jig behind and moving the jig, it's the whole concept behind these stamp sets. So you can offset them. You could even put, if you wanted to put on, let's say, thanks a latte, okay? So you wanted to put that on for your greeting, okay? So let's do this. So before we start stamping, let's take our masking paper. Okay, so I'm gonna cut a piece of masking paper here. You can use whatever masking paper you have. Okay, masking paper, and I'm gonna cut myself a circle, okay? If I can find my circle dies, which are right to my left. Okay. Okay, circle dies, whatever your favorite is. You could do this with any shape you want. Just make sure that your sentiment fits inside it. Okay, see? Thanks a latte will fit inside that circle. Brilliant. Okay, so I'm just going to take this. And I don't know if I can bring this on camera or not. Okay, my machine. Put my die down. I'm going to put my masking paper in, and we're going to cut ourselves a circular mask. Okay? 1, 2, 3, easy peasy. Okay. Hang on. Let me pull it out of the way. Ah! And now, of course, this is now stuck to my plate, right? Of course it is. Okay. Okay, there's the die. And, oh my goodness. Funny. Okay, there's my mask. Alright, here we go. So, we want to put our sentiment. You know, we're going to go rogue. We're going to go rogue today. Let's do it in the lower left side of my card front. Okay, so there's my mask. Okay. Alright. So let's do our stamping, okay? Everything's set. We're ready to go. We've got our color palette. We're ready to rock. Okay, I'm going to put this magnet where it's not going to disappear on me. Okay, so if you're new in the last couple of minutes, I recommend that you always start with your lightest ink. So it doesn't matter what order you do these in, because it's all going to look the same in the end, okay? So let's start with our Buttercream. Buttercream is one of the newer colors by Catherine Pooler. It was released last year. It was released as actually one of her neutrals set, or her brown set. So it's a nice kind of creamy neutral, which is perfect for doing things maybe with skin color, skin tones. kind of buttery orange color, or it's actually more yellow. Okay, so very, very light. So this one is going to be very, very subtle. Hi, Sue. I'm going to do this one more time just to intensify my color. And this is the beauty of the Misty again. As long as you didn't move your 6x6, you're good to go. Okay, there. You guys can probably see it a little touch better now. Maybe. It's a light color. Okay. So let's clean our stamp. You guys will have to tell me, did you guys do anything special for your New Year's? I did not, but I stayed up all night. It was the night my body decided that I wasn't going to sleep. So that was fun. Okay, so let's rotate. Okay, again, you can rotate whichever direction you want, but just stay going in the same direction. Okay, so this is 1, rotate 1. Okay, there we go. Now, if you do have the Concord 9th jig, I think the jig is actually labeled with either 1, 2, 3 kind of up here on its plastic jig, so that you remember. You always start with 1 at the top, and then you move to 2, and then you move to 3. So yes, their jig is great and fantastic and cheap tool, but if you want to buy more stamps, then save your money and make your own. Because this is actually how they started out. They didn't have a jig that they sold as a product. It was like, yes, make your 6x6, make your X on your 6x6, and that becomes your jig. So I'm just giving nice even pressure. And sorry, this is Bellini. Don't you just love all the names here? Okay, and we are putting this on as a second coat, just because I want to make sure that the images are all nice and crisp. But if you're happy with the number 1 stamping, then there we go. Okay, cleaning it off. And again, take a good look at your stamp, because you are going to use it with another color. And just double check that you don't have colored cracks and crevices. 1 second here. There we go. Okay. Okay. Cleaned off. Now we're going to rotate. And again, I highly recommend just having an extra support mechanism. Because of the way the stamps are designed, and they're so large that you can't use your magnets. See? And there we go. And always make sure you butt it into the corner. Corners are your friends. Okay. Okay. So that is rotate number 3. So Bellini is off to the side, and now we're going to do green tea. Wanda, you weren't feeling the best? Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, honey. I wasn't feeling my best either over the holiday. Today is the last day for my son. He goes back to school tomorrow, so I will have the house back to myself for the week. You know. Okay. Green tea. Yummy, yummy. Oh, all right. And I'm going to do a second of this too. I'm kind of only going to do maybe this side of the stamp. Because, like, again, you can only, I mean, if you just found that, oh, this little image wasn't the crispest, then just ink that up. It's fantastic. Thank goodness for Misty's, because I don't know where I would be as a stamper, I tell you. All right. So, into clean. And this is really important, is to clean this well, right? Because you don't want to transfer inks from one pad to the other, or you don't want to transfer that ink, sorry about the squeaks, to your next rotational image. Okay, so I'm just going another direction. Okay, so now we've washed, we have to rotate. And this is the last rotate. Okay, doing our sticky. And we're doing our last and final Juniper Mist. Sorry, I got a comment, it's a thing that's popping up and it's covering your comments and I wanted to see how you guys are doing. Okay, Juniper Mist. Thanks so much for joining me on Sundays. I really appreciate that you guys come and watch, even if it's just for a few minutes, just a comment so that you have a chance to win. I'm okay with that. I appreciate your time. If you guys ever have any questions about products or anything like that, please don't hesitate to leave comments. Like, I'd like to see this, or I'd like to see you review this, or I will try my best to get my hands on products that I don't necessarily have. I know Rhea's always really good about sending me stuff that I don't always use, so it gives me a chance to experiment and share with you guys. So I hope you guys take advantage of some of the sales that we've had. Not sure what the sale is on this weekend. I forgot to double check before I came on, but I know Rhea's always got something in the sales bin, so make sure you check that whenever you're in the store. Okay. So, you get my thing to peel up. Okay, and this is when the reveal happens. Let's put our image aside. We're going to take it off our jig. Again, keep this. If you've got numerous turnabouts, put it with your turnabout stamps. Okay, and this is the brilliance of our mask. Ta-da! We now have a spot to put our sentiment. And actually, the brilliance about this is that no matter which direction you put this card, the pattern paper works. Because things are designed upside down anyway. So I could make a card that opens this way and have it at the bottom. Or I can make a card that opens this way and it's at the bottom left. So it's kind of however you want to do it. That's the fun of making your own pattern paper, right? Okay, so let's go back to this one here. And we're going to stick this in my mini Misty. Okay, we're going to go back to our stamp set. Thanks a latte. And I love the font in this. So cool. All right. Thanks a latte. Just got to find the sweet spot. Okay. I'm going to push my magnets in closer. Now the reason why I do this is that sometimes when you've got a brand new stamp, because I haven't used this one yet, it's sticky. Okay, so it likes to pull up on your paper. So if you put your magnets a little bit closer where they don't hinder your stamp, it just holds that paper down and makes it easier for you to pull up that new sticky stamp without moving this piece of paper, right? Because you don't want to move that if you can avoid it. Okay. Shall I do sentiment in green tea, holy can't talk, or juniper mist? You guys decide. Blue or green? Blue or green for our lovely little sentiment. Oh, hearts for Valentine's. Oh, that's so cool, Deanna. Yeah, I thought I'd pull some different colors. Blue, blue, blue. You guys are kind of thinking the way I'm thinking here. All right. Blue it is. Okay. Now, if you have an ornery stamp that is giving you problems, like it won't give you a crisp image, let me show you how to deal with that. Let's just fix this. Now, you can absolutely just double stamp, triple stamp, quadruple stamp if that solves your problem, but let me show you a trick. Okay. So I always have just a normal white eraser. Okay. Like my hands, that's what happens when you love ink, right? That's just from today. Okay. So if you have an ornery stamp or a large stamp like this one here with a lot of surface area, okay, when you go to use this first, it's going to be a pain. okay? Always. There's a little bit of a manufacturing film on these. So to get rid of the film, you can either do this trick, which is run your white eraser across the surface, okay? And then just make sure that you wipe away any of those eraser pieces, because sometimes, you know, it pulls off, right? So just go in with your finger and take off that white eraser. So that's trick number 1. You can also just use your fingers, okay? Go in with the stamp and run your fingers across it one way, do it another way. And what it does is it takes off that residue, okay? And then another way to help out is to take your Versamark, which is clear ink, right? It's just stinky. Okay, and you just ink up the stamp with this, your clear ink, and then you put your ink over top of it. It won't affect your stamp, but it'll help make it a little stickier. So whatever ink you then press into it is going to stay. And of course, it makes it even easier to wipe off because you've got a clear ink first and then your other colored ink. So a couple of tricks if you're having problems with a stamp. Okay, really easy to fix. And thank goodness your hands can do it. Like, don't even have to have an eraser, but I highly recommend just a good old white eraser. And there we go. A really, really simple card. And you could just sit at the table in front of the TV and just make backgrounds. Just spin and clean and yeah. Yes, most people have had that problem at some point with their stamps. So just a couple of tricks to try. Sometimes, and very, very unlikely, there's a defect in the stamp. So another thing to do is to take a look at the surface of your stamp and go, oh, there's like, sometimes there's little pieces of plastic from the manufacturing process that get stuck. So just take like your nail and just run it across and just try and pull off those pieces. I've had that happen. Sometimes there's a manufacturer's defect, which there's like a little divot. So of course it won't take any ink and put it to your paper because it's showing as a divot, just like the inside of this coffee cup handle is down. So even if I get ink here, I can't press this hard enough to get that to transfer to my paper. So check your stamp too if you're still having an issue after trying all the tricks. Sometimes there's just a defect with the stamp, and if you contact the company, more than likely they will send you a whole new stamp set, believe it or not. Our industry is so wonderful about supporting our crafters that most companies are more than willing to send you a brand new stamp set. Because I too, over the years, I mean, I've been stamping for probably 17 years now. I've had a few stamps that just don't work. So yeah, and don't feel bad about contacting the company because maybe it's something that they haven't even noticed. I mean, companies definitely, they try and stamp out all their images and make sure that there are no defects, but every once in a while, get that one little stamp set that didn't quite go through the process the way it should. So don't be afraid to contact the companies about getting a replacement, because as far as I know, I've never come across a company that wouldn't replace a stamp. I've even had them replace the specific stamp. So yeah, it's just kind of cool too. All right. Shall we finish off making cards? Where did I put my other one? Okay. So there's the two that we've done. Because this one has no sentiment yet, let's figure out what we can do here. I'm trying to think, what do we got? I like you a latte. How about we finish that one off? I like you a latte. We're going to go easy peasy. Okay, I'm just going to stick these here. Don't lose them. Okay, I'm going to peel off this sucker and put him back before he goes rogue and gets lost. Okay. So we're going to finish off this card. So I'm going to go back to our Flirty Fuchsia, Uptown, Martini, and Lilac. And what should we do? What should we do? I'm trying to think here how we can finish off this card. I mean, we can go really simple and just do, I don't know what we'll do. Okay, this is the beauty of Catherine Pooler stamps. Inks. This is why I like her product. Okay. Hang on, I gotta get my trimmer. It's lost over here. Okay. So we'll do some embossing today. Okay. So I'm just cutting this down because we don't need a huge piece of cardstock. My favorite trimmer. Okay, so before I put this in, I am going to make my own colored cardstock, okay? So I'm just going to use a scrap of paper just to hold my paper in place because we're going to ink right off the edges. I'm going to go with my favorite color of all of these. We're going to go with Flirty Fuchsia. And I'm going to make my own paper, my own cardstock. So this is why Catherine does not sell colored cardstock. Is because to get things to jive, because this ink versus the ink that they would make, that they would use to make a cardstock, very different in the industry. So why not make exactly Flirty Fuchsia paper? And this is how I do it. Okay, so I am going to dry this just for the sake, because we are going to do some embossing. So I want to dry this with my embossing gun. Sorry for the noise. I just want to make sure it's good and dry. Okay. Okay. Dun, 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 dun. Now, the secret to embossing is you need embossing. You need powder. Okay. There are so many different things out on the market. You can just use talcum powder, okay? You don't have to buy anything special, okay? All this is just basically 2 pieces of felt with powder in between, and all it does is you just slide it over and the powder just kind of seeps through all the fibers and applies it to your cardstock. Done, okay? You can use a brush. There's all kinds of powder tools out there, okay? Anti-static. So let's take off my cardstock. This is the cardstock we are going to use to make our sentiment strips. Okay, putting the sucker in my mini Misty. Okay, so I'm not even miffed if I get these not straight. I'm just going to literally put them on my Flirty Fuchsia paper. Oops. There we go. We're going to use Versamark. This is an old Versamark Dazzle. It had like a sparkle to it. It doesn't anymore. It hasn't for years. I just keep putting Versamark stuff into the pad, so I didn't buy a new pad. Okay, we need a white, or at least these are my most used. Pretty sure I had a white in here. Maybe not. Maybe not. Nope. It's okay. 1 second. Okay. Ink on 3 Arctic White. That's the first one I saw. I'm sure I'm like you guys and have like 50 different whites. Because you want to try them all, right? Okay. A little bit of Versamark. Okay. We're going to take this out. I'm going to use... Oh, hang on. This came out of my mini Misty. My scrap of paper. Don't forget to comment if you'd like to win a card with goodies, a brand new goodie from my stash. Okay, sprinkle on your powder. Okay, so see if you guys can see this or not. So sometimes, even though you've powdered something, you'll get little stray pieces of embossing powder in places that you don't want, okay? So my trick is to take a paintbrush and you're going to go in and you're going to brush away any of those stray particles without touching any of the ones that you want to stay. Okay. And you can do that with a brush. Okay. That's my trick. And the next thing is, make sure you put this back in the pot. Okay. Because otherwise you'll blow it all over your workspace and you'll have embossing powder everywhere and it's a pain to clean up. Let me tell you. Okay. And then you're going to use your good old embossing tool or your heat gun. And like magic, you're going to apply heat till it changes to a shiny consistency. Okay, there we go. Now, you can actually over emboss, okay? When you over emboss, what happens is the powders seep into the paper instead of staying on the surface. So just be aware, if you hold your heat over it too long, it can actually become part of the paper, like seep into the paper, and then it looks weird and you're like, huh, that's not shiny anymore. It's actually matte. So just be aware that you can actually do that. Okay, so good old trimmer. We're just going to basically block out our sentiments. That looks good. I'm trying to be as even as I can with the letters, and I'm double checking that I'm not cutting something off, like the lower part of my Y. There. Ta-da. Okay, we're going to do the latte. I'm just going to turn it around so I can see it better. Okay. And watch me not make them like super even, but that's okay. I'm okay with that. 1, 2, 3, cut. Okay. And then we're just going to trim off the ends. And even though I'm pretty good with scissors, it's a lot easier just to throw it into my trimmer and make everything like 90-degree angles. Otherwise it looks funny unless you're going for wonky, which I'm good at wonky. Wonky donkey. Okay. This one is not straight by any means. Oh boy, I killed myself. Alright. Okay. There we go. Bump it out, and I have embossing powder on my desk. Yippee! So we're gonna make this pop up. So I'm gonna pull out some trusted good old foam tape. Use what you got. Okay. And bump-a-da-da. Bump-a-da-da. Who doesn't like foam tape? Right? Love popping stuff up. Okay. I like you a latte. Okay. We're going to go bottom right hand corner. And you're going to hope it goes on straight. Okay. There we go. And one more piece. Well, you can go wonky donkey. It still looks good, right? You just say it like this. It's supposed to be that way. What are you talking about? It's handmade. Hello, people. You have a foam tape envy. That's funny, Deanna. All right. So Two very, very simple cards, but just talking about the whole concept of our turnabouts. So if you're interested in a turnabout, before you go and make that purchase, just make sure that you do have a platform that will fit a 6x6 stamp set. It's really key, because if you don't have that, it won't work. Positioning everything and having to restamp, it'll be just too frustrating. So I highly recommend getting yourself a regular size. This is the original Misty sized, not your mini. They won't fit in a mini. They do actually have small turnabouts that aren't 6x6 that will fit in here, but the majority of them are a 6x6. So they only fit in the original or in the Memory Mystery, which is the 13 by 13 inch one that scrapbookers use. So, but I highly recommend a platform that is larger than 6x6 to use it in. It will just make your life so much easier, let me tell you. All right. Do you guys have any more questions about Catherine Pooler inks, Turnabout stamps, Concord 9th, embossing, anything like that? Got any more questions? I hope if you're a newbie that you've learned a few tricks of the trade. Again, I'm a big Catherine Pooler ink fan. I highly recommend her inks, and get refills when you can. She has an amazing collection. She actually has kind of two different lines, so I'll show you using her her color wheels. Okay, so this is a printable free thing on her website if you wanted to. And it has all of her current inks. So this is the party collection. So the party collection of inks are all very bright and highly saturated, meaning they don't have a lot of gray in them. So they're bright and happy and, well, they're party colors, okay? And there's tons of them, okay? And then she has the spa collection, which they're a little bit more muted, a little softer, a little bit more vintage feeling. All great, fantastic colors. And I mix my palettes. Like, I will mix spas and party colors together. Plus, in addition to all of these colors, are all of her neutrals. So, all of the browns. So, there's over coffee, s'mores, macchiato, sandcastle, spiced, icing on the cake, cargo, and her kind of grays, her twilight, blackjack, and midnight. So that's all of her inks. She has 96 of them. So if you want a collection, yeah, it's a big one. I will call it an afternoon. Thank you so much for joining me today. Don't forget to check out the store. Don't forget to check out the sales tab. Lots of new products. Rhea brings in products like all the time, and she's got a keen eye, let me tell you. If there's ever anything that you would like to purchase, you can definitely send her a message via the website or via the Facebook page, and I'm sure she would be more than happy to help you out and bringing product in that you guys would like to see. I think that's all of my stuff for today. I will be back again next Sunday. And I will see you again later, and give me 2 minutes to post a winner in the comment section, and that person will receive a card from me and a happy little gift. Thanks, guys. Have a great afternoon, and I hope you have a great weekend. Bye, guys. See you next Sunday.